My dear sisters and brothers, we continue reading the chapter 11 of St. Mattthew, and the first half of this reading we saw yesterday, in which Jesus says, I give you praise, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, for although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to the childlike. And at the end of which, he goes on to say, come to me, all who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest, which is today's reading. And yesterday we saw the kingdom of God is closer to those who are little, considered little in the eyes of the world, those who are marginalized, the poor, the downtrodden, and forgotten and discarded by the society. But for them, the kingdom of God is better revealed. And the kingdom of God is closer to them. And so Jesus tells us today, for them, come to me, all who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. So when I think of this reading, come to me, all who labor, and I will give you rest, and take my yoke upon you, the image that comes to my mind is a bullock cart. If you have seen bullock carts in India, the two bulls carrying the cart, or a horse chariot. So imagine there are two horses or two bulls trying to pull the cart, the weight, the burden, and Jesus says, I am one of them. You take the other side. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. He is not asking us to carry it all by ourselves. He says, I am with you. I am the second one. But come to me and learn from me. So what is this burden? So the burden, according to the gospel analyst, the burden that Jesus speaks here is a burden of law. The order, the rules, the regulations that the society is burdening people with. And rules and regulations, the laws are needed and they are good and they maintain the order and the continuity. But when it becomes controlling, manipulative, then there are people who are at the receiving end of it. So we can always think of this in our own context, how the little ones, the poor, the marginalized, the forgotten, or how people are being forgotten because of the way some of the laws are being established or practiced. So I don't need to get into examples. And that is where Jesus says, learn from me. So I have a different law, the law of love, which is easy and which is light to carry, if only you are ready to learn from me. Give your shoulder and take my burden and carry it with me, just as two bulls carrying the cart or two horses carrying the chariot. So what happens when the law and the order disrupts the equity or the equality of society? What happens is justice is at a crossroad. Justice is at a crossroad. So we do not treat everybody in the same way, just as God would have treated us. So that is the danger of having the law and having a manipulative kind of laws in our own way. And that is where we got to learn from the first reading today, that when that happens, we look to you, your name and your title are the desire of our souls. My soul yearns for you in the night. Yes, my spirit within me keeps vigil for you. When your judgment dawns upon the earth, the world's inhabitants learn justice. So which goes to say, his justice and our justice are two different things. And the justice that we seek with our laws perhaps do not give God's justice. So Jesus says, takes that the yoke of love upon yourself, and see how much you can practice that, because that's the only path which leads to salvation. He says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. For sure, if you take this burden, the burden of love and practice of love, you are going to end up in heaven. So let us ask ourselves, in our being and in our doing, in different ways and intensities and degrees, where do we stand in terms of taking the yoke of love in our lives?